You open your eyes to a world that feels both strange and familiar, a place before time had meaning, before language had words to describe the morning. The air is cool and damp, heavy with mist that clings to your skin. There are no roads, no sounds of engines or footsteps on stone, only the slow rhythm of wind moving through tall grass and the distant whisper of running water. It is the Stone Age, a world untouched by the metal and light of modern life, where every breath is a reminder of survival. You lie on the ground, feeling the heartbeat of the earth beneath you. Around you, faint shapes stir in the half-light. A small group of people, your tribe. You do not think of them as strangers or friends. You think of them as extensions of yourself. Survival binds you together more deeply than language ever could. The sun is rising now, a faint orange glow spreading along the horizon. The cold of night begins to fade as light spills into the valley. Dew glistens on leaves, and the scent of wet soil fills the air. Your breath is visible in front of you, soft white clouds that vanish as quickly as they appear. Someone nearby tends to the remnants of a fire. The embers pulse gently, each spark a tiny heartbeat of warmth in the vast quiet of morning. You reach out, holding your hands over the glow. The heat feels alive. This is not just comfort, it is survival. Without fire, the tribe would have frozen during the night. With it, the darkness felt less endless. You look up at the mountains in the distance, their edges painted gold by the rising sun, and you understand why your people follow them. The land is both your enemy and your teacher. Every movement through it must be learned, memorized, and respected. You can tell the season by the smell of the air, the direction of wind by the tilt of grass. Each rock, each tree, is a landmark, a piece of knowledge passed from generation to generation, not through speech, but through gesture and repetition. You remember the way the elders would trace lines in the dirt with sticks, showing where the rivers bend, where the herds migrate, and where danger hides. These drawings fade with the next rainfall, but the memory stays. You stand now, feeling the ache in your legs from the long walk the day before. Your feet are bare, hardened from years of walking across rough ground. A thin layer of fur or hide covers your shoulders. It smells of smoke and animal fat, but it keeps out the cold. The others are waking too. Children stretch and yawn. The hunters check their spears, their eyes scanning the edge of the forest. Someone hands you a piece of dried meat from the night before, a taste of salt, smoke, and earth. It is not much, but it will give strength until the next meal. Hunger is not an event here. It is a constant companion, a quiet pressure that guides every decision. The day begins not with plans, but with instincts. You listen for the movement of animals in the distance, the rustle of branches that might signal a herd or a predator. The air carries messages, if you know how to hear them. The call of birds above warns that the forest is awake. The buzzing of insects near the water tells you it is safe to drink. You do not think of this as knowledge. You think of it as listening to the earth. As the light grows stronger, your tribe begins to move. You carry what you own on your back, nothing more than what can fit into a woven pouch or a fold of hide. The tools you use are simple, sharp flakes of flint, shaped by endless repetition, a wooden spear hardened in fire, a bone needle for repairing clothing. Every object has a story, a mark of the hands that made it. When one breaks, it is not thrown away. It is reborn, reshaped into something new. You begin walking, following the faint trail carved by generations before you. The path winds through tall grass, each blade brushing softly against your legs. The world feels endless. There are no borders, no maps, only memory. You know the valley ahead because you have been told of it, and because you trust the direction of the sun. Time is not measured in hours or minutes. It is measured in hunger, in light, in the distance between one river and the next. When the sun reaches its highest point, you stop to rest beneath a cluster of trees. The shade feels cool and safe. The sound of running water draws your attention. You kneel beside a small stream, cupping your hands to drink. The water is cold, tasting of stone and sky. Refreshed, you look up and watch the others. A few gather berries from nearby bushes, their hands moving with practiced ease. A child laughs as they find a small frog, holding it up before letting it go. Laughter feels rare here, but it is sacred. It reminds you that even in hardship, there is something gentle inside the human heart. The afternoon passes slowly, the air growing warmer. You walk again, always forward, always toward something unseen. The land changes subtly. The grass becomes shorter, the soil harder, the trees more sparse. A herd of animals appears in the distance, dark shapes moving like shadows across the horizon. The hunters pause, whispering among themselves. They watch, not with greed, but with respect. Each animal taken is a gift, and every life taken must be justified. Tonight there will be a hunt, but for now, the tribe simply watches. When the sun begins to sink again, you find a place to stop. The group moves together, silently building a small camp. Branches are gathered for firewood. Flat stones are arranged in a circle. Someone strikes flint against flint until sparks catch on dry moss. Soon, the flames rise, and with them comes the familiar sound of crackling wood. Smoke curls upward into the darkening sky. The fire's light paints faces in gold and red. Around it, the tribe gathers. No one speaks loudly. The day's stories unfold in whispers, what they saw, what they heard, what they will do tomorrow. The children lean close, eyes wide, half listening, half dreaming. You feel the weight of the day begin to fade from your body. Muscles relax. The warmth seeps into your skin. Above you, stars appear one by one, more than you can count. There are no lights to compete with them. They shine with a clarity forgotten in the modern world. Someone points upward, tracing lines between them, naming shapes in a language you do not know but somehow understand. Maybe they are hunters too, or spirits, or ancestors watching from far away. The night deepens. The fire grows smaller, but its glow remains steady. You lie down near its warmth, your head resting on folded arms. The sounds of the forest fill the silence. Crickets, the distant howl of something unseen, the gentle rush of wind through trees. Fear is always there, but so is peace. You think of how fragile life is, how thin the line between safety and danger, and yet how beautiful it feels to simply exist. The tribe breathes together, a slow rhythm rising and falling like waves. Somewhere, a baby stirs. A mother hums softly to calm it. The melody is wordless, ancient, and tender. You close your eyes, the orange glow of the fire still flickering through your eyelids. The warmth against your skin feels like the heartbeat of the earth itself. You think of the long journey ahead, of mountains and rivers and unknown lands. But for now, you are safe. You belong to this world of stone and sky. You breathe once more, deeply, slowly, and drift into sleep beneath the first night of humanity. The stars keep their watch, the fire whispers, and the world continues, timeless and alive, waiting for the next dawn to begin again. The morning begins softly, as it always does, with light filtering through the trees and the faint sound of water echoing somewhere nearby. The tribe stirs one by one, stretching limbs that ache from sleeping on packed earth. There are no alarms, no doors, no rush. Only the rhythm of daylight and the whisper of nature reminding everyone that another day has come. You rise slowly, feeling the coolness of the air, the damp soil beneath your feet, and the warmth of the fire that still glows faintly in the circle of stones. Someone adds a few dry twigs, and the orange light returns, chasing away the shadows that linger at the edges of the camp. Around you, life begins to move in gentle waves. Children wander between huts made of branches and hides, their laughter soft and fleeting. Two elders sit near the fire, sharpening tools. The steady, patient scrape of flint against stone is a familiar song. The women gather woven baskets made from reeds and vines, preparing to walk into the forest. The men check their spears and hunting tools, tracing the lines of each weapon with care. Every mark on the wood carries a story: how it was made, who shaped it, and how many times it has returned home. In this world, nothing is taken for granted. Every object exists because someone spent hours shaping it, and every skill exists because someone once failed, learned, and tried again. The tribe moves together like a single organism. There are no commands, no shouted orders, only instinct. When the sun rises above the tree line, the hunters begin their journey. They disappear into the mist, silent and deliberate, their movements in harmony with the wind. The gatherers head toward the valley, searching for roots, berries, and herbs. The children follow closely, learning through watching. A small boy picks up a stone and asks if it can be shaped into a knife. An elder smiles, takes it, and shows him how to strike its edge, how to listen for the sound that means it will break clean. Knowledge here is not written, not stored in books, but in hands, eyes, and memories. Every person is both teacher and student. The women move quietly through the forest, their feet leaving almost no trace. They know which plants heal and which harm, which fruits can feed the tribe and which must be avoided. Sometimes they hum softly, a rhythm to keep time, or to let the others know where they are. These songs are not for performance. They are for safety, for connection, and for peace. The forest hums with its own language, the buzz of insects, the rustle of leaves, the distant cry of a bird. To the tribe, each sound means something. A sudden silence can be a warning. The return of noise, a sign that danger has passed. Farther away, the hunters track movement through tall grass. They do not chase. They observe. A broken branch tells them what passed and when. A single footprint pressed into mud reveals the size of the animal and how fast it moved. There is mathematics here, though no one calls it that. A deep understanding of distance, timing, and rhythm. The hunt itself is a dance between patience and precision. A breath too loud, a step too soon, and the opportunity vanishes. The hunters know that failure is not shameful. It is the language of the wild teaching them to listen better. As the day warms, the gatherers return first, baskets heavy with plants and fruit. The camp fills with scent, sweet berries, sharp herbs, damp soil. A fire is built higher, and food is placed on stones to cook slowly. The hunters return later, sometimes empty-handed, sometimes with enough meat to feed everyone for days. Success is celebrated not with shouting, but with gratitude. There is a ritual of silence before eating, a shared acknowledgement that life has been exchanged for life. Everyone eats together. The youngest are served first, then the elders, and finally the hunters. There are no arguments, no ownership. What is gathered belongs to all. Around the fire, the tribe sits in a loose circle. The children chew slowly, their eyes fixed on the flames. The fire's crackle fills the pauses between soft voices. Someone begins to speak, an older woman, her voice steady and low. She tells of a time before this place, before the tribe crossed the mountains, when the rivers froze and the world turned white. Her story flows like water, each word painting images on the listeners' faces. These stories are not just memory. They are instruction. They teach how to live, how to endure, how to hope. When the food is gone and the sun begins its slow descent, the camp falls into a calm rhythm of work. The hides from the last hunt are stretched across wooden frames, scraped clean with sharp stones, and hung to dry. Sparks leap from the fire and drift upward, disappearing into the blue dusk. The air smells of smoke and leather, of earth and ash. Near the edge of the camp, two young men sit quietly repairing a broken spear. They pass it between them, checking the balance, testing the strength. There is no waste here. Every fragment of bone, every fiber of sinew has purpose. Even broken tools are reborn. Children help gather more firewood, learning by imitation. They mimic their parents' movements, how to pick a dry branch, how to balance it across the shoulders. These lessons, repeated thousands of times over generations, will one day shape the hands that build cities. As night approaches, the temperature drops quickly. The tribe gathers closer around the fire. The hunters share what they saw during the day. the tracks of large animals, signs of migration, places where berries are still ripe. The elders listen, nodding slowly, storing each detail in memory. Tomorrow's choices depend on these words. There is no written record, only the mind, the voice, and the rhythm of retelling. The fire becomes the heart of the tribe. It is where food is cooked, wounds are healed, stories are told, and warmth is shared. The flames flicker on faces, carving them into expressions of peace. The smoke rises slowly, curling into the night, carrying with it the scent of home. Above, the sky is clear again. The stars return, bright and sharp. A child asks what they are. An elder answers that they are the eyes of those who came before, watching to make sure the tribe never walks in darkness. The child nods and falls silent. The night is gentle now. The world seems smaller, wrapped in warmth and quiet. From somewhere beyond the firelight, an owl calls once, then twice, before the forest settles again. You feel sleep tug at your body. The last thing you see is the glow of the fire reflected in the eyes of your people. The same reflection that has lived in human eyes for tens of thousands of years. You close your eyes, and for a moment you understand that daily life in the tribe was not about struggle. It was about rhythm, about belonging, about the quiet balance between what the earth gives and what it takes back. The night holds you like a cradle, the flames whisper, and the ancient cycle continues, one breath at a time. When the sun begins to fall and the light turns to gold, the tribe starts to look for a place to rest. The land ahead is wide and open, but the night will come quickly. There is no luxury of walls or roofs waiting somewhere. Safety must be found or built before darkness arrives. The air cools, carrying the smell of earth and smoke, and every sense sharpens. To live in the Stone Age is to read the language of the land, to feel where the wind moves, where animals pass, and where shadows deepen too fast. The search for shelter is not random. It is learned, a rhythm passed from one generation to another. A hollow beneath a cliff can protect from the wind. A cave hidden by trees can hold warmth long after the sun disappears. The tribe spreads out quietly, their eyes trained to spot the subtle signs of safety. No animal tracks at the entrance, no smell of damp rot, no echo that suggests something else already lives inside. They listen before stepping closer. If the air inside hums softly, the space is deep and still. If the wind rushes through too fast, it means the cave opens on the other side, and predators may pass through. The first shelters are not built, they are found. Nature provides, but only to those who know how to look. Once a spot is chosen, the tribe moves quickly. The floor of the cave is cleared of stones. Moss and leaves are gathered to soften the ground. Furs are laid where families will sleep, and a small fire is prepared at the center. A spark caught from flint meets dry grass, and soon the first orange glow fills the walls. Shadows rise and move like spirits on the stone. The fire crackles softly, the smoke drifting upward through cracks in the ceiling. For the first time since morning, warmth wraps around the people like a blanket. You can imagine the sound of quiet voices, the soft laughter of children, the gentle sighs of those who survived another day. The smell of smoke, earth, and fur becomes the scent of home. But not every night can be spent in a cave. The tribe must travel often, following herds, water, and the turning of the seasons. So they learn to build their own shelters. The materials are everywhere: wood, grass, clay, and bone. And each pair of hands knows what to do. Long branches are driven into the ground in a wide circle. Thinner sticks bend and meet at the top, tied together with strips of animal sinew. The gaps are filled with leaves and mud, packed tight to keep out wind and rain. The roof is layered with thick grass, the doorway covered with hide. There are no right angles, no straight lines, only the soft, curved shapes that the earth itself prefers. Smoke from the fire escapes through a small hole in the roof, carrying warmth and scent into the night. Rain patters gently against the surface, a soft heartbeat that comforts rather than alarms. Inside, the tribe sits close together. The firelight flickers over faces, reflecting in tired eyes. A baby sleeps against its mother's chest. An elder hums a quiet tune that feels as old as the stones themselves. Outside, the world grows dark and restless, but inside, there is calm. Shelter is not just a structure. It is a feeling, the first kind of peace humanity ever knew. As the wind howls across the valley, the people inside listen, knowing they are safe. They built this safety with their own hands. In the beginning, the shelters were temporary. When food grew scarce or the river moved, the tribe took what they could carry and left the rest behind. But each time they built again, they improved. Over the years, they learned which branches bend without breaking, which mud holds strongest in rain, which firs trap heat best. Slowly, the shelters began to evolve. Some tribes began to dig shallow pits and build above them, using the earth itself as insulation. Others leaned flat stones against each other, creating walls that could withstand storms. Near rivers, clay huts rose, smooth and cool during summer, thick and warm during winter. Each new discovery spread, not through writing, but through memory and imitation. The simplest idea, a roof to block rain, a wall to block wind, became the seed of civilization. You can picture them working together under the fading light, their hands covered in mud and ash, their breath visible in the cooling air. The rhythm of building is slow and steady, guided by patience. Every stone is placed with purpose. Every knot is tied with care. There is pride in this work, though no one calls it that. They do not build to show power. They build to belong. When the structure stands complete, the tribe steps back and looks at it quietly. The youngest run inside first, laughing as the sound of their voices bounces off the curved walls. The fire is lit, the smoke rises, and warmth begins to fill the small space. From outside, you can see the glow of orange light against the dark blue of night. It looks fragile, but it is strong. It is enough. Later, as the tribe rests, the first drops of rain begin to fall. The wind picks up, and the forest sighs. Inside the shelter, it is dry. The roof holds. The fire burns slow and steady. Someone hums softly again, and others join, a chorus of quiet voices blending with the rhythm of the rain. The song has no words. It is made of breath and memory. It is a reminder that safety is never given freely. It is built. As you listen, you can imagine the glow of the fire, the gentle sway of shadows across the walls, the way the flames reflect in tired eyes. This is not luxury. It is survival, wrapped in warmth. The people sleep close, sharing heat and heartbeat. The fire is fed through the night, each person taking turns to keep it alive. Outside, water streams down the walls of the hut, forming silver lines that glimmer in the firelight. The world feels distant and quiet. In this moment, you can sense the birth of something timeless. Every shelter ever built, from huts to temples to homes, begins here, in this simple act of gathering, protecting, and resting. Even now, thousands of years later, when you sit inside your own walls and hear rain tapping on the window, a small part of you remembers this. The comfort of being inside while the world storms outside. The warmth of a flame against cold air. The knowledge that you are safe, at least for tonight. As dawn approaches, the rain slows and the world begins to brighten. The tribe wakes to the smell of smoke and wet earth. They step outside, blinking at the pale light, stretching arms stiff from sleep. The huts glisten with droplets, the ground soft underfoot. The air feels clean, renewed. They know they cannot stay long. The herds will move soon, and so must they. But the shelter will remain behind, a quiet memory of hands that shaped it, of warmth shared, of one more night survived. The tribe gathers their things, stamping out the fire, covering the ashes with soil. When they leave, the forest will reclaim what they built. Grass will grow through the floor, rain will melt the walls, and soon only a faint circle will remain. But for that night, for that small moment in endless time, they had a home. And in that home, humanity learned something new, that safety could be created, not found. It was the first step toward everything that would come after. Even now, if you close your eyes, you can almost hear the rain outside, the low crackle of fire, and the quiet breathing of people who knew how to make peace out of wilderness. Night falls slowly over the valley, and the forest begins to change its voice. The sound of birds fades first, replaced by the soft hum of insects and the rustle of leaves shifting in the wind. The air cools, damp with dew, and shadows stretch across the earth like a second skin. You are part of a small group huddled together beneath the open sky, the last traces of sunlight slipping behind the distant hills. The darkness is total. There is no lamp, no glow from a distant village, no sound beyond the quiet pulse of nature. The night is beautiful, but it is also dangerous. Eyes watch from the tree line, unseen but present. Every sound, A crack of a branch, a low growl carried on the breeze, tightens your chest. For early humans, darkness was both a blanket and a threat, and for countless generations, it defined the boundaries of life itself. Then one night, everything changed. Somewhere, perhaps after a storm, lightning struck a dry field. The grass ignited, and flames leapt upward into the air, painting the sky with orange light. The tribe that saw it must have been afraid at first, frozen by awe and terror. Fire was alive. It moved, it hissed, it consumed everything it touched. But it also glowed. It gave light, and for the first time, humans saw color in the night. The orange of flame, the black of smoke, the blue of sparks, the red reflection in the eyes of animals watching from afar. It must have felt like seeing the heart of the world itself. At first, people ran from it. Then curiosity made one of them step closer. They saw that animals fled from fire, that its warmth pushed away the cold, that its glow turned darkness into safety. And slowly, over generations, humanity learned not to fear it, but to guide it. The discovery of fire was not a single moment. It was a long story of observation, courage, and memory. People carried fire from the places where lightning struck, protecting embers in bundles of dry moss. Those who guarded it walked carefully, knowing that to lose it was to lose safety. They learned how to feed it with dry wood and leaves, how to keep it breathing with air, and how to calm it with ash. For a time, fire was a rare treasure, passed from camp to camp like something sacred. Then came the greatest moment of all, the moment when humans learned to make it themselves. Two stones struck together, the smell of dust and flint, the sudden flash of sparks. At first, nothing. Then a small curl of smoke, a faint orange glow, a flame. You can almost imagine the sound, the gasp, the laughter, the disbelief. They must have stared in wonder at what their own hands had done. In that instant, everything about human life changed. Fire gave warmth, and with it the ability to survive in colder lands. It gave light, and with it time after sunset. It gave protection, and with it courage to rest without fear. For the first time, people could gather at night and talk, not just huddle in silence. The circle of firelight became the center of human life. Families sat together, faces glowing, watching sparks rise and vanish into the dark. The world beyond the circle was full of danger, but within it was safety. Here, stories were born. Hunters described the chase of the day. Elders told of seasons past. Children listened and learned without realizing it. Knowledge became words. Memory became culture. The fire was the first classroom, the first gathering place, the first home that was not bound to daylight. It changed how humans ate, too. Meat roasted over flame became softer, easier to chew, easier to digest. Food lasted longer, sickness came less often, and strength returned faster. The smell of cooking filled the air, attracting others, turning strangers into community. But fire's magic went beyond the body. It reached into the mind. In the flicker of flame, imagination began to grow. Shadows on cave walls became shapes and faces. Someone pointed and said, "That looks like a deer." And another saw it too. From these moments came art. Symbols, the first spark of what would become storytelling, painting, and belief. The fire became a mirror, showing humans what they could create. And yet it also demanded respect. Those who tried to control it carelessly were punished. A spark too close to dry grass, and the world could burn. Fire was a teacher, fierce but fair. It rewarded attention and punished arrogance. To tend it was to practice patience. Every night, 1 or 2 people stayed awake to feed it slowly, placing wood just right so the flame would live until morning. If the fire died, the camp fell into cold and fear again. To keep it alive was an act of love, one that connected the tribe through purpose and trust. Over time, this nightly ritual became more than survival. It became ceremony. When the sun went down, the fire was lit, and everyone gathered. The light carved their faces into gold and shadow, uniting them as one body in the rhythm of crackling wood and soft voices. People began to decorate the space around it with stones, with carved bones, with small offerings of fruit or flowers. It was no longer just a tool. It was sacred. The first gods may have been born in those flames. The spirit of warmth, the guardian of light. Even now, thousands of generations later, fire still holds that power. When you sit beside a campfire, when you stare into its dancing light, a deep memory awakens inside you. The same comfort, the same fascination that your ancestors felt still stirs in your chest. Fire connects us across time. It is in the candles we light for peace, the hearths we gather around, the lamps that guide us through darkness. It is the symbol of home. In the Stone Age, when storms howled outside and the night was long, fire meant survival. But more than that, it meant belonging. It turned fear into warmth, isolation into community, darkness into story. Around the flames, people learned to speak, to teach, to imagine. They learned that creation was possible, that light could come from their own hands. The tribe would sit for hours, staring into the embers, hypnotized by the slow breathing of the fire. Sparks rose and fell like tiny stars returning to the sky. The children would drift into sleep, heads resting on furs, the orange light painting their faces. The elders would speak softly, their voices blending with the sound of the crackling wood. And in that peaceful hum, a new kind of silence was born, not the silence of fear, but the silence of safety. Fire had given humanity more than survival. It had given them time. Time to think, to dream, to wonder. Time to be human. And as you listen now, imagine that same warmth against your skin, that same glow dancing behind your eyelids. The night outside is still vast, still dark, but inside the circle of light, you are safe. You are connected to every life that ever sat beside a fire, from the first spark in a cave to the last candle on a table today. The fire changed everything, and in its soft whisper, it still reminds us that even in the darkest night, we can create our own light. The day begins before sunrise, while the stars are still visible, and the world holds its breath. The air is cold, the kind of cold that clears the mind. You can hear the faint rustle of grass as feet move quietly through the dark. The tribe is preparing for the hunt. There are no words spoken, only glances and gestures. Everyone knows their role. The fire from the night before has burned to embers, glowing softly in the pale light of dawn. Smoke rises slowly, vanishing into the mist. Around it, hunters check their spears, tightening bindings of sinew, sharpening the edges of flint. The tools are simple, but they hold the memory of hundreds of hunts before. Each mark, each small repair, is a record of survival. The elders watch as the younger ones prepare. They do not give orders. The teaching has already been done through years of observation and imitation. The knowledge of the hunt lives in muscle, in rhythm, in the way breath slows when silence is needed. The hunt begins not with running, but with listening. The forest is a language, and the hunters are fluent in its quiet tones. A snapping twig might mean a boar nearby. A sudden flight of birds could signal wolves in the distance. The wind matters most. If it shifts, the prey will smell you before you see it. So they test it, wetting a finger, lifting it, reading the invisible movement of air. The plan forms through instinct. The group divides, some moving toward the river where the animals drink, others circling wide to drive them gently toward the waiting spears. Patience is the first weapon. For hours they move without sound, every footstep measured, every shadow considered. The morning light grows stronger, turning the mist into a golden haze. The earth smells of dew and soil. Somewhere ahead, the faint sound of hooves breaks the silence. The hunters freeze. Their eyes meet. It is time. A small herd of deer moves through the valley, graceful and unaware. Muscles tighten, hearts slow, breath steadies. The first spear is raised. But no one throws yet. They wait until the wind changes, until the path narrows, until the deer step where escape will be impossible. Then motion. A sound, a shout, the rustle of grass as the herd bursts forward. The air fills with energy. The ground trembles. Spears fly through the sunlight, turning end over end before striking their mark. The moment is brief, violent, and sacred. When the echo fades, the forest goes still again. The hunters move toward the fallen animal. There is no cheering, no celebration. They kneel beside it in silence. A hand rests gently on its side. A whisper of thanks is spoken, not as a prayer to gods, but as gratitude to life itself. Nothing here is wasted. The body will feed the tribe, its hide will become warmth, its bones will become tools. The hunters work quickly, their movements efficient and respectful. They cut with stone, knowing every muscle and joint by touch. Steam rises from the warmth of the body into the cold air. Birds circle above, waiting for what will remain. This is the rhythm of the hunt, life giving way to life. When they return to camp, the tribe gathers. Children run to meet them, their eyes wide with excitement. The smell of fresh meat fills the air. The fire is built higher, flames reflecting in smiling faces. The elders oversee the butchering, teaching as they work. This tendon is strong. Keep it for bowstrings. This bone can be shaped into a needle. This fat will burn for light. Every part is used. There is pride, not in killing, but in knowing how to turn survival into art. The meat roasts slowly on wooden stakes, dripping fat into the flames. The sound is soft and steady, the smell rich and comforting. As the food cooks, stories begin. One hunter describes how the wind nearly betrayed them. Another tells how a bird's call warned of danger. The children listen, memorizing every detail. These are not just stories. They are lessons disguised as memories. The tribe eats together, seated in a wide circle. Each person takes a piece of food, passing it along before taking their own. No one eats before the others. The act of sharing is older than language. Around the fire, they eat in silence, the crackle of wood and the distant hum of night insects filling the air. The stars appear again, faint at first, then brighter as the sky darkens. The elders begin to speak of older hunts, of great herds that once covered the plains, of winters so harsh that even fire could not keep them warm. The children lean closer, faces lit by orange light. They are not just learning how to hunt. They are learning what it means to be human.
The hunt teaches patience, courage, and respect. It teaches that strength alone is not enough. It is the mind that wins the day. It teaches unity, for no one can survive alone.
It teaches humility, reminding the tribe that they are part of the same world as the animals they chase. In every hunt, there is danger. Sometimes a spear breaks, or a hunter falls, or the prey turns to fight. The scars on their bodies are not shame. They are stories written on skin. Every scar says, "I lived." The tribe knows that tomorrow may bring hunger again, but tonight they have food, fire, and each other. When the meal is done, the bones are buried near the edge of camp, returned to the earth. The fire burns lower. Someone begins to hum softly, the same melody that was sung during the building of the shelters, during storms, during births and deaths. It is not a song of words, but of feeling, a rhythm that matches the heartbeat. The hunters clean their tools, scraping blood and dirt from the stone tips, repairing any cracks. Each weapon is checked again before it is laid beside the fire to dry. These spears are not possessions. They are companions, shaped by the same hands that feed the flame. As night deepens, the camp quiets. You can hear the soft breathing of those who sleep, the faint pop of burning wood, the whisper of wind against hides. The hunters stay awake a little longer, staring into the fire. Their faces flicker between light and shadow. They think not of the kill, but of the pattern of the day. The way the deer moved, the way the wind shifted, the way they worked together without words. In their minds, the hunt is a living memory, one that will guide the next generation. The fire burns low, embers glowing red. Above, the stars shimmer like 1,000 tiny fires in the sky. A sense of peace settles over the camp. The great hunt is over, and life continues. Tomorrow, there will be new tracks to follow, new lessons to learn. But tonight, the tribe rests in balance with the world. The air smells of smoke, earth, and life. The fire breathes softly, and somewhere in the darkness, wolves howl, not in hunger, but in harmony. For now, everything is still, and the night feels endless and kind. You can almost feel the warmth of the fire, the steady rhythm of the heart of humanity itself. Strong, calm, eternal. The air is colder now, sharper, the kind that bites the skin and turns every breath into a cloud. The world has changed. Ice crawls across the land, slow and unstoppable, carving valleys and burying forests beneath its weight. The rivers are frozen, the ground hard as stone. Trees stand like skeletons against a white sky, their branches heavy with frost. The sun rises, but it gives no warmth. It hangs pale and distant, a reminder that light does not always mean heat. This is the age of endurance, when every heartbeat is an act of defiance against the cold. The tribe moves together, wrapped in furs stitched from countless hunts. The hides are thick, layered with smoke and fat to resist the wind. Each step through the snow is heavy, the sound muffled and soft. The world feels silent, but it is not empty. Beneath the ice, rivers still move. Beneath the snow, small lives continue. Foxes, hares, birds, all adapting, surviving. Humanity, too, learns to change. Fire becomes more than warmth. It becomes life itself. Without it, there is only darkness and stillness. Each evening, the tribe stops to build a shelter, digging shallow pits in the snow, lining them with branches, bones, and hides. Inside, the fire crackles low, and the air fills with the scent of smoke and animal fat. The flickering light paints faces in gold and shadow, reflections of both exhaustion and strength. Food is scarce. The herds have moved farther south, chasing what little grass remains. The hunters travel for days, following tracks that vanish in snow. Their breath freezes on their beards, their fingers ache, but they keep moving. To stop is to die. Sometimes they return with meat. Sometimes they return with nothing. When the food runs low, they share equally. Even the elders, who eat least, smile as they pass a small piece of dried meat to a child. In this world, generosity is survival. The cold tests not just the body, but the spirit. When storms come, they can last for days. Wind howls like a living creature, tearing through hides, pushing snow into every crack and opening. The tribe huddles close together, fire trapped in the center, their breath forming a mist that freezes on walls. The sound of the wind is relentless, but so is the rhythm of life inside. Someone hums softly to calm the children. Someone else feeds the fire with small sticks, each one precious. The flames flicker and waver, but they do not die. They never die. The storm passes, as all storms do. When the wind fades, the world outside is transformed, white, endless, and silent. The snow glitters in the faint light like a sea of glass. Footprints vanish within minutes, erased by drifting powder. The tribe emerges from the shelter slowly, blinking against the brightness. They stretch their arms toward the sun, not for warmth, but for the simple comfort of light. In this frozen land, beauty and danger live side by side. Ice forms delicate patterns on rocks like veins of silver. Frost clings to the fur of animals, turning them into ghosts of the landscape. Every breath, every sound feels amplified in the quiet. The hunters travel farther each day. They learn to track not only by sight, but by the smallest clues. The bend of a grass blade under snow, the smell of frozen air where an animal passed, the faint print half filled by wind. Their movements become slower, more deliberate, conserving energy. They learn to work with the land, not against it. When they find a mammoth or bison, the hunt is careful and quick. Spears are thrown. The herd scatters, and when one falls, the tribe moves fast to claim it. The reward is immense. Food for weeks, bones for tools, fat for light and warmth. The meat is buried under snow to keep it from spoiling. Every part of the animal is used. Nothing is wasted. The tribe knows gratitude better than comfort. Around the fire, they tell stories of the old lands, of rivers that once flowed freely, of forests now buried beneath the ice, of summers when the air was soft and green. The children listen, wide-eyed, unable to imagine such warmth. But even they understand that this cold will not last forever. The elders say the earth breathes, and this is only one long exhale. Someday, the ice will melt, and rivers will sing again. Until then, they endure. The tribe learns new ways to survive. They build stronger shelters, walls made from mammoth bones covered in hides. The circular frames trap heat inside, glowing faintly from the fire within. Smoke escapes through small holes in the roof, rising into the pale sky like signals. Inside, families sit close, carving tools, sewing clothing, whispering softly. They have become masters of adaptation. Their hands know how to turn cold into opportunity. They make needles from bone, thread from sinew, boots from hide lined with fur. Every movement has purpose. Even the act of breathing feels deliberate, controlled. The world outside may be frozen, but life inside continues to move, slow but unstoppable. When night comes, the aurora appears, green and blue ribbons of light rippling across the sky. The tribe steps outside to watch, their faces glowing in the reflection. They do not know the science of it. To them, it is the dance of spirits, ancestors painting the heavens with fire. For a moment, even the cold feels distant. The lights move like smoke, like dreams given shape. The children laugh, their voices rising into the still air. Hope flickers brighter than flame. In the long winters, time itself changes. Days blur into nights. Nights stretch endlessly. There are no calendars, no counting. Only the memory of warmth and the promise of spring. When the first thaw comes, the sound of dripping water feels like music. The snow softens, revealing stones, roots, and the bones of what winter has taken. The air smells different, damp, alive. The tribe moves south, following the melt. Each step sinks into mud, heavy but hopeful. The rivers awaken, and the world begins again. The cold has taught them resilience. It has carved strength into their bones, patience into their hearts. The ice shaped not just the land, but the people. It taught them that endurance is a kind of wisdom, that warmth is most precious when it is earned. And as you listen now, you can almost feel it. The sting of the wind, the glow of the fire, the deep calm that comes from surviving the impossible. The ice has passed, but its lesson remains. Even in the harshest season, life finds a way to keep moving forward, quietly, steadily, without fear. The firelight flickers against the stone walls, and the cave seems to breathe. Smoke curls upward, tracing invisible lines through the air. Outside, the night is dark and silent, but inside, something extraordinary is happening. A man kneels near the wall, his hands stained with ochre and charcoal. The air smells of dust and ash. He moves slowly, deliberately, dragging his fingers across the rock. A line appears, a curve, a shape, a memory. Others watch quietly behind him, eyes wide, faces glowing in the firelight. They do not yet have a word for art, but they know that something sacred is taking place. The wall becomes a story, a mirror, a bridge between the living and the unseen. This is the birth of memory made visible. Before this moment, human life existed only in sound, in the passing of stories from voice to voice, fading like breath in the wind. But now, for the first time, memory can stay when the storyteller is gone. The marks on the stone hold meaning beyond the moment. They say, "We were here." The artist mixes red pigment from crushed earth and animal fat, blowing it through a hollow bone to create a soft mist of color. A handprint appears, small, deliberate, eternal. Then another, and another. The wall fills with hands reaching through time. They are not decoration. They are identity. They are proof of existence, the earliest signature of humanity. The cave becomes alive with movement. Shapes of bison, horses, deer, and mammoths emerge from the stone, drawn with simple lines but full of life. Each curve suggests motion, the turn of a head, the leap of a body, the chase frozen in time. The flickering light makes them seem to move, as if the hunt continues forever in the dance of shadows. The tribe gathers around, whispering, pointing. Children laugh softly, trying to guess which hunter each figure represents. Elders nod in silence, understanding that this act is more than play. It is remembrance. These paintings are not just about what was seen, but what was felt. They tell of hunger, of courage, of the moment before the spear was thrown. They teach the next generation where to aim, when to wait, how to respect the life they take. This is how knowledge begins to live beyond the body. The cave walls become books without words, filled with lessons written in color and shape. Humans begin to see the world differently. The same hands that carve meat now carve meaning. The same eyes that once searched for danger now search for beauty. Art changes everything. It gives the tribe a language that does not fade when the fire burns out. It creates connection across generations, across silence. Even now, tens of thousands of years later, when you stand before those same painted walls, you can still feel it, the pulse of the hands that made them, the breath that carried the pigment, the quiet awe of creation. In this flicker of firelight, you can see the beginning of imagination, the moment when humans first looked beyond survival and began to dream. The artist steps back, his work finished for the night. He looks at the wall, not with pride, but with peace. He knows that tomorrow the hunt will continue. The fire will need tending. The tribe will move again. But this will remain. The marks will last longer than the voices. They will speak when he cannot. Art becomes the memory of the tribe. Over time, these markings grow more complex. Symbols appear, spirals, lines, dots, stars. No one can say exactly what they mean, yet everyone feels that they mean something. They might mark the seasons, the paths of the moon, the rhythm of life and death. They are thought made visible. And in this act of creation, humans discover reflection. They begin to wonder not just about the world outside, but about the world within. Who am I? What does it mean to exist? What remains when the body is gone? The answers do not come easily, but the questions themselves are the beginning of consciousness. Through art, humans learn to see themselves as part of a larger story, something greater than the daily cycle of hunger and rest. In the mornings, the tribe passes by the painted walls, touching the figures as they leave for the hunt. It becomes a ritual, a silent promise to return, to continue the story. At night, the firelight dances across the images, making them seem alive again. The shadows play tricks on the mind, turning the static into motion, the past into present. The walls whisper without sound. You can imagine the rhythm of that world, the echo of tools against stone, the murmur of voices, the soft hum of creation. There is peace in it, a kind of meditative calm. Each mark is made slowly, deliberately, like breathing. The cave becomes not just a shelter, but a temple. The act of painting becomes prayer, not to gods, not yet, but to existence itself, to the mystery of being alive. The same hands that shaped tools now shape meaning. The same fire that cooks food now illuminates thought. Humanity is changing. The artist looks at the hands of his companions, at the light on their faces, and he sees beauty in them. He paints that beauty, not as a portrait, but as a feeling. The warmth of a mother, the strength of a hunter, the wisdom of an elder. These are the first attempts to capture emotion, to give form to what cannot be touched. In doing so, humans begin to understand empathy, to see themselves in one another. Art becomes the memory of compassion. Outside the cave, the world remains harsh. Storms rage, winters return, animals migrate. But inside, there is warmth and color and the quiet beating of hearts in unison. The paintings watch over the tribe like silent guardians. Generations come and go, but the images stay. Dust gathers, smoke darkens the colors, yet the shapes endure. Thousands of years later, when strangers will discover them again, the colors will still speak. They will whisper of a time when life was simple and raw, when meaning was drawn by hand in the dark. They will remind the future that memory began not with words, but with wonder. You can almost see it now, the glow of firelight against stone, the slow movement of a hand leaving its mark, the sound of breathing, the quiet sense of awe that fills the space. It is a moment that never ends. The art of memory is not just what was painted. It is the feeling that someone once stood there, reaching out to you across time. And as you listen now, in your own quiet place, you can feel that same connection, the stillness of creation, the peace of reflection, the unbroken thread that ties all human hearts through memory, color, and light. The night is silent, the kind of silence that feels endless. The fire burns low, its glow soft and steady, painting the faces of the tribe in gold and shadow. Beyond the circle of light, the forest is vast and unknowable. Every sound, the crack of a branch, the sigh of wind, the distant call of an unseen animal, seems alive. The people listen, not with fear, but with reverence. They believe the world is full of spirits. The river has a voice. The mountains have memories. The trees breathe, and the wind carries whispers from those who walked before. No one told them to believe this. They simply feel it. In a world without walls or maps, the boundary between the seen and unseen is thin. When someone dies, their absence is heavy but not final. The tribe feels them still, in the warmth of the fire, in the rustle of leaves, in the soft glow of morning light. They bury their dead with care, laying the body on its side, covering it with red ochre, the color of life. Beside it, they place tools, weapons, and ornaments made of bone and shell. These are gifts for the journey beyond. No one knows exactly where the spirit goes, but everyone agrees it continues. Death is not an end. It is a passage, a return to the earth that gave life in the first place. You can picture it now, a small group gathered under the gray dawn sky, mist rising from the ground, the air cool and still. They speak no words, yet their gestures are full of meaning. A hand touches the earth. A head bows, a sigh becomes prayer. The fire burns nearby, its smoke drifting upward like a path into the clouds. This is one of humanity's oldest rituals, the moment we learned to say goodbye. In these early beliefs, there are no temples, no priests, no written laws. The world itself is the temple. The sky is the ceiling, the ground the altar, the fire the eternal witness. Gratitude replaces worship. When the hunt is successful, they thank the animal. When rain comes after drought, they lift their faces to the sky. Every element has a soul, and every soul deserves respect. To harm the world carelessly is to anger the spirits that sustain it. To share and live in balance is to honor them. The tribe learns this balance through experience. When storms destroy their shelters, they rebuild, believing the wind simply asked for space. When lightning strikes a tree, they collect its charred branches carefully, seeing them as gifts of power. When the first snow falls, they do not curse the cold. They see it as a warning that the world must rest. Life and death, gain and loss, warmth and cold, all are part of the same circle. And within that circle, they find meaning. One night, as the tribe gathers around the fire, an elder begins to speak. His voice is slow, carrying the weight of years. He tells the story of the stars. Long ago, he says, when the first people died, they did not disappear. They climbed into the sky and became light, so we would not be alone in the dark. The children gaze upward, eyes wide, the fire reflecting in their pupils like tiny galaxies. The stars seem to listen. Another story follows, that the moon is a hunter's torch, guiding the lost back to their tribes, and that the sound of thunder is the laughter of ancestors calling across the clouds. These are not just stories, they are explanations, bridges between fear and understanding. The unknown becomes less frightening when it is filled with meaning. Over time, these stories become the first belief systems, shared myths that unite the tribe. They give purpose to suffering, order to chaos, and comfort to grief. When someone falls ill, they do not see it as punishment, but as imbalance. The healer, often the oldest woman in the tribe, burns herbs and sings softly to restore harmony. Her chants are not words, but sounds that mimic wind and water. She places her hands on the chest of the sick, feeling the rhythm of breath, whispering promises to the body to return to balance. Healing and faith are one and the same. In the stillness of the cave, symbols begin to appear. Spirals, circles, lines connecting stars. Some are drawn near burial sites, others near the walls where firelight dances. Each mark carries intention. The spiral represents return, the circle unity, the line a path between worlds. The tribe may not know it, but these are the seeds of religion, philosophy, and art, all born from the same longing to understand the infinite. As generations pass, these beliefs deepen. Some tribes speak of great animals that guard the world, others of a mother spirit who gave birth to sky and earth. Some say the sun is a hunter who chases darkness each day, others that it is a flame lit by the spirits of fire. The details differ, but the heart is the same. Everything is alive. Everything is connected. Everything matters. And in this belief, humanity finds peace. You can imagine a night like this one, the fire low, the stars wide and cold above, the air heavy with the scent of pine and ash. The tribe listens to the elder's final words. When you breathe, you borrow air from the trees. When you drink, you borrow life from the river. When you sleep, you rest in the arms of the earth. And when you die, you give it all back. The people sit in silence. the meaning sinking deep into their bones. For a moment, the world feels still, whole, perfect. These early beliefs do not separate humans from nature. They weave them into it. The spirits of the land are not gods to be feared, but companions to be respected. And perhaps that is why these people live in harmony with their world. They do not claim to own it. They belong to it, even now. If you stand beneath the stars and listen carefully, you can feel that same connection. The wind on your skin, the heartbeat of the earth beneath your feet. The quiet knowledge that you are part of something ancient and vast. The first beliefs remind us that faith was never about answers. It was about wonder. It was the human heart recognizing the mystery of existence and choosing to trust it. The fire burns lower, the smoke rises into the night, and the voices fade into the soft rhythm of breath. Somewhere in the dark, an owl calls. The tribe closes their eyes. They are not afraid. They believe, and in that belief, they are home. The earth is never still. Even when it seems silent beneath your feet, it is moving, breathing, reshaping itself in ways too slow to see, but too powerful to stop. The tribe lives close to this truth. They feel it in the tremor of the ground when stones shift deep below, in the sudden roar that echoes across the valley, in the way a mountain smokes for days before the fire inside escapes. Long before science could explain it, humanity already knew. The earth is alive. Sometimes it nurtures, sometimes it destroys, but always it changes. One morning, the sky darkens even though the sun still rises. A deep sound, low and endless, rolls across the horizon. Birds scatter. The animals flee. The air tastes of ash and metal. In the distance, a mountain glows red at its peak, the light pulsing like the heartbeat of a god. The ground shakes beneath bare feet, small stones tumbling down slopes, water rippling in skins and bowls. The tribe stands frozen, watching as fire spills from the mountain's mouth, turning sky to smoke and day to night. It is terrifying, but also mesmerizing. They have never seen such color, such power. Lightning flashes within the clouds of ash, painting the sky in brief bursts of white and orange. They do not yet have the word volcano, but they understand its meaning in their bones. This is the earth's breath, the world remaking itself. For days the sky stays dark. Ash falls like snow, covering rivers, forests, and paths. The tribe moves carefully, searching for clean water, for air that does not burn the throat. Many animals vanish, their trails buried beneath gray dust. But slowly, life adapts. When the smoke clears, the land looks new, black and raw, the ground still warm underfoot. And then, weeks later, green begins to return. Tiny shoots of grass push through the ash. Flowers bloom in colors brighter than before, feeding on the rich soil left by the fire. The tribe learns that destruction is not the end of life, but part of its cycle. They begin to tell stories about it, how the mountain gods burn away the old to make room for the new, how fire purifies the world. These stories are not fear. They are understanding turned into poetry. Over generations, the people learn to read the land. When rivers change course, they follow. When floods come, they climb higher. When the sea creeps closer, they build farther inland. They do not fight the earth. They move with it. The world around them is not fixed. It grows, cracks, shifts, breathes. Great glaciers retreat, leaving behind new valleys. Earthquakes tear the ground open and then heal it with time. Forests burn, and new trees rise in their place. Humanity learns resilience through observation. They begin to sense patterns: the migration of animals after rain, the blooming of plants after fire, the return of fish when rivers swell. Each change carries a lesson. To live is to adapt. The tribe's tools change too. The old spears give way to finer blades. Stones are shaped differently, reflecting new needs and materials found in the reshaped land. The people learn to use obsidian, sharp as glass, born from the very mountains that once frightened them. They learn that the earth that destroys can also create. Obsidian cuts meat, hides, even bone, with ease. It becomes the tool of both survival and progress. The tribe crafts jewelry from the bones of animals and the shells washed up by new tides. The world is shifting, and they shift with it. You can imagine them now, walking across a land that looks half burned, half born. The air is clean, but carries the faint scent of smoke from ages past. Streams cut through dark stone, their water reflecting the first stars of evening. The tribe moves quietly, their shadows long against the glowing ground. They do not fear the fire anymore. They remember it, respect it, but no longer run from it. Change has become part of their faith. When thunder cracks across the sky, they say it is the voice of the earth speaking. When the ground trembles, they say it is the heartbeat of the world reminding them they are alive. To them, there is no separation between earth and spirit. The land itself is sacred, alive, eternal. Each generation adds to the knowledge of the last. They learn which mountains sleep and which wake, which valleys flood and which remain dry. They pass down this wisdom not as command, but as story. The children grow up knowing that the world can shift at any moment, and that strength comes from movement, not resistance. They build lighter shelters, easier to carry, ready to leave when the ground changes again. They learn to read the signs in the sky, the color of clouds before rain, the silence before an earthquake, the smell of wind before snow. This awareness becomes their protection. When the air hums strangely, they move higher. When animals vanish, they prepare. They do not question the power of the earth, they trust it. Sometimes the changes are slow, barely noticed across lifetimes. Ice melts far to the north, and rivers swell. Seasons stretch and twist. Rain comes late, or not at all. The people travel farther, discovering lands they never knew existed, new forests, new animals, new dangers. Migration becomes not a choice, but a rhythm. The world leads, and humanity follows. Yet even in constant movement, they carry something unchanging: the memory of fire, the wisdom of adaptation, the quiet belief that life always finds a way. In the evenings, when the tribe rests, the elders speak softly about the earth's moods. They say it has breath, and that every storm, every quake, every burst of flame is just part of its great dreaming. They remind the children that one day, long after their own bones have returned to dust, the same ground will still move, still change, still give birth to new life. This is the oldest lesson of all, that nothing lasts forever, and that is what makes existence precious. You can almost hear it now, the low hum beneath the silence, the hidden pulse of a living planet. It moves slow but sure, shaping mountains, splitting oceans, shifting continents, erasing old paths, creating new ones. The earth is patient. It does not hurry. It does not ask permission. It simply becomes. Humanity learns from this patience. In their small fires and fragile shelters, they mirror the same rhythm: destruction followed by renewal, loss followed by creation. And as they watch the sun rise over a land remade by flame and water, they know that even though everything changes, the will to live remains the same. The earth turns, the stars move, the wind sings through valleys new and old, the tribe breathes with it, part of the great motion of time. And in that motion, there is peace. Change is not something to fear. It is the heartbeat of life itself. The long winter has passed, and the world is changing again. The ice retreats north, revealing green beneath gray. The rivers swell and sing, and the wind carries warmth instead of cold. You can smell the earth waking, soft and rich after ages of silence. For the first time in many lifetimes, food grows without being chased. Grass covers the valleys, trees blossom, and wild grains shimmer golden in the sunlight. The animals return: deer, aurochs, birds by the thousands, and the tribe follows, not to wander endlessly, but to settle where the land is generous. The Stone Age is ending, though no one calls it that. The people simply feel that something new has begun. They no longer move with every season. They build their shelters stronger, adding walls of clay and branches, roofs woven with straw. For the first time, homes are meant to last. The campfire becomes the hearth, and the circle of stones becomes the heart of a home. Around it, families cook, talk, laugh. The tribe begins to stay, and staying changes everything. The rhythm of life slows. Instead of waking to chase herds, they wake to tend the earth. The women scatter seeds, wild grains collected from the fields, pressing them gently into soft soil. Days pass, and green shoots rise. It is a miracle so simple it feels sacred. Food no longer runs away. It grows. The people learn to watch the sky, to read the seasons, to measure time not by hunger, but by growth. The sun becomes the great clock, the moon its gentle companion. When the rains come, they celebrate. When they stop, They dig channels to guide the water. The first gardens are born. Each seed planted is a promise to the future, a quiet declaration that humanity will stay. And as the fields spread, the herds follow closer, drawn to the same rivers, the same grass. The tribe begins to tame them, not by force, but by familiarity. Dogs appear first, following the smell of food and the safety of the firelight. They guard, they hunt, they stay. Then goats, sheep, cattle. The people begin to understand that the wild can be guided, shaped gently into partnership. The hunter becomes a herder, the gatherer a grower. Hands that once carved spears now carve wooden plows. The stone tools evolve into polished axes, smoother and stronger, symbols of a quieter strength. Progress is not loud, it is steady. The world feels different now. Nights are calmer, the fear of starvation less constant. Children grow up knowing the same landscape year after year. The elders tell stories beside fires that never have to be moved. Memory grows roots. The tribe becomes something larger, a community, a beginning of civilization. With time comes new questions. What lies beyond the hills? What happens when one field grows barren and another blooms? Curiosity drives small groups outward. Some travel by rivers, following their silver lines across the land. They meet other tribes, and for the first time, exchange more than glances. They share seeds, stories, tools, songs. Trade is born. From trade comes understanding, and from understanding comes culture. Villages appear like constellations across the earth, small dots of light linked by paths and rivers. Each one different, yet all connected by the same human desire: to build, to create, to belong. In these villages, language begins to change. The grunts and gestures of survival give way to words, names for places, for people, for feelings. A word for home, a word for friend, a word for tomorrow. With language, the tribe gains memory beyond faces and hands. Knowledge spreads faster, ideas travel farther. The stories once whispered beside fires are now shared across valleys, shaping the first myths of gods and heroes, of creation and destiny. Art leaves the caves and decorates walls, pots and tools. Music grows from rhythm to melody. Bones become flutes. Strings hum softly in the breeze. Humanity begins to sing its own story to the world. And yet, even in this new peace, the memory of the old life lingers. The people still honor the hunt, still watch the stars, still whisper thanks to the river and the trees. They do not see this change as separation from nature, but as harmony with it. The earth has given them stability, and they answer with care. In the evenings, as the sun sets over fields of golden grain, the tribe gathers once more around the fire. The flames are gentler now, no longer desperate for warmth, but glowing with comfort. The elders speak of the past, not as hardship, but as the foundation of all they are. They tell of the first fire, of the painted caves, of the cold and the ice and the hunts that kept them alive. The children listen, amazed that their ancestors once lived without the certainty of food or shelter. But within those old struggles lies something eternal: the courage to adapt, the will to endure, the curiosity to imagine more. As darkness deepens, the stars appear again. The same stars that watched the first hunters walk the plains. The people look up and recognize them, not as spirits now, but as memories, guides in the sky, reminding them where they came from. Humanity stands on the threshold of a new age. Villages will become towns, towns will become cities, and soon the rhythm of life will change again. But tonight, in this quiet moment before the dawn of civilization, the tribe is content. They have learned to turn earth into food, stone into shelter, fire into warmth, and fear into knowledge. They have learned that survival is not the same as living. To live is to remember, to create, to love, to share. The world has changed, and humanity has changed with it. Tomorrow, they will wake and plant again, hunt again, build again. The fields will sway in the wind, and the rivers will carry songs of gratitude. Somewhere, a child will press a hand into wet clay and leave a mark that will last for centuries. The dawn of change has come, not as a storm, but as light gently spreading across the valley. The earth hums, the sky glows, and the fire burns low. A new chapter begins, and through it all, the heartbeat of humanity continues, steady, ancient, and full of hope.